Very good morning to everybody. This is Frequently Answered Friday. In these sessions, I go through questions that come through to me from my clients and from agents in respect to their business. Now, some of these questions are quite challenging, but each one of them is a question that's been sitting in the back of your mind, whether you've had it in the past or whether it's one that's coming in the future. Now, the question that came through to me in this particular session that I want to discuss is something that you may or may not have already experienced this. It generally happens towards the end of the year. And normally at the beginning of the year, we have this heightened level of energy and excitement that allows us to start moving forward. But when it does happen, what can you do? What am I referring to? Well, I'm referring to when you start burning out. And the question that came through to me is, Stuart, I'm burning out. What can I do? Now, this is something that we all experience in our life. And really, what I want to do is I'm going to share with you four very simple tips that you can start to implement when you start to burn out. And generally, when you get to that point of burnout, normally your emotions are really erratic. You're finding that you're feeling really exhausted and tired, and your motivation levels are very low. So, when you get to that particular point, what I want you to do is I want you to take out these particular notes that I'm going to be sharing with you and go through them because it's going to help you to start taking this journey forward where you're not burning out. So, the question, just me repeat that, is Stuart, I'm burning out. What can I do? So, I'm going to share with you four tips. Three of them are pretty much lifestyle type of tips that helps you out in the real world so you can actually share these tips with anybody in any industry. And the fourth tip is a tip that has a bit of a hybrid with real estate as well as business as well. So, the first tip that I want to share with you is if you are getting to that point of burnout, normally the underlying is a mental health. Now, I'm not saying that you're crazy and that you need to go and see a psychiatrist. What I'm referring to when we talk about our mental health is we're starting to feel tired, that fatigue is starting to set in. Now, how can we overcome this fatigue when we've got a mental health that is really starting to go over us? So, the first thing is if a mental health condition does get to an extreme level, yes, you need to start looking and speaking to professionals to get your assistance. But if it's something where it's just the fatigue, the tiredness, the lack of motivation, it's the first step is to actually identify it. For many of us, we just say, I feel tired, and we leave it as that. I don't have the motivation to do it, and we leave it as that. We don't pick up on the actual signals themselves. So, burnout really starts with the mental health of identifying these particular conditions. So, if you start feeling that low motivation, the fatigue and tiredness, these are indicators of a burnout. So, the very first tip is I refer to it as mental health, it's actually the awareness of the mental health. So, you make sure that you become aware of it. With not becoming aware of it, all that's going to happen is you're going to go deeper and deeper into this burnout state. And then ultimately, from a mental health, it starts turning into a physical health. And you don't want to get it to that particular point. So, tip number one, it's called mental health, but it's the awareness of it. When you feel it, when you start saying those words to yourself, you start saying, hey, wait a minute. I need to become aware. I need to do something about it. So, first little tip is the awareness. The second, and it really follows on to the first, and you'll see each one of these are progressive. The second one is when you're getting to that point of low motivation, you're feeling fatigued and tired, and you really don't want to do anything. What you need to start doing is you need to start networking. You need to start talking and communicating with people on the outside. This is one of the things of a human being. When we start to communicate and talk with other human beings, what actually happens is our body starts to get a little bit of almost refreshed energy. Now, you've got to be careful of the type of people that you're networking with, because if the type of people are all burning out, they're all negative, they're all low in motivation, ultimately, all it's going to do, it's going to fuel your motivation down or remove it and make you more fatigued. So the networking that I'm referring to is make sure that you're looking for people that has a level of inspiration, people that actually has that energy of positivity. So make sure that you've got that support structure so that you do, when you do get into that position, you're able to network with them, and it will start giving you this little bit of refreshed energy. Now, remember, each one of these steps that I'm sharing with you is not, do one, resolved. They start to build on each other. So identify it and then go out and network with some people, making sure that you can get that energy into your system. And remember, when you network with somebody, they don't have to be in the same industry as you. They could actually be just friends and family that you're actually networking with. So get out there, network, meet people. In fact, what I share with so many of my clients, especially on your off days, these are the days where you're not actually focusing on work. What you need to do is pick a day where you're going to a social environment. So, social environment could be something where it's a farmer's market, maybe there's a school fete, or maybe there's just a park where there's lots of people around. You need to at least once a week go into that environment, just get that fresh air, but also you're going to be bumping into people. And even if it's just a simple, hey, how you doing? Just these little conversations starts to refresh you from the inside. So it's something that you can do every single week. And if you actually get into the habit of doing that every single week, you're going to find that your burnout times will actually become less and less and less. The third one that I want to share with you is there are some cases where burnout is as a result of frustration. So ultimately, what I mean by that is if you've got a lot of clients asking you a lot of questions, and you've got to actually be thinking about those answers, and a lot of those answers you don't know. So it starts to almost cloud you because you become fearful and your self confidence level starts to drop, that you don't want to have the conversation with somebody else because you got the fear that they are going to ask you a question that you don't have the answer to. And when you start getting to that particular point, in fact, what happens, it reverts straight back to number one, which is mental health. You actually start becoming tired. You actually start becoming low in motivation. So, the third tip that I want to share with you, and this is something that I implemented into my personal life almost 10 years ago. I learned something new every single day. Now, most people say to me, Stuart, how can you learn something new every single day? You can't go out and become a chef and learn out. No, it's reading information. There's a lot of information that's out there. So whether it's even something as simple as there's a button on the car, what does that button do? And I'll go and I'll Google it. What is something called? And I'll go and Google and search and all of that information. It could be something very trivial to that, or it could be related to your industry. So being in real estate, you could actually say, hey, I want to learn how to negotiate with a tough seller to get a sole mandate. And that could be something that you could learn over about 2 or 3 weeks, that negotiation skills. But you're learning something new every single day. Now, by doing that, ultimately it starts to build up your self confidence. When your self confidence starts building up, when somebody asks you a question, you're able to give them an answer. When you're able to give multiple people answers, ultimately what's going to happen is you start getting this refreshed energy inside of you. And it prevents you from getting to that burnout stage. Now, this is from a mental and people asking you questions, not from a physical burnout. So go and learn something new every single day. And it can be something small, it could be something trivial. It could be something where you're just following a certain influencer in a certain subject. And each day you're listening to their podcast, just hearing them talk about something. And that'll give you some kind of information that comes into your system. So, number one, It's identifying. It's that mental health and actually identifying that you're getting to the point of burnout, which ultimately fatigue, lack of motivation, just not wanting to do anything. The second on the back of that is making sure that you're networking with people, getting out there and meeting human beings face to face, touching and really getting that interaction, because that actually helps us to give us this new level of energy. And the third there is making sure that you learn something new every day. So now, if you put all that together, those first three that I've shared with you, ultimately what you're looking at, and it falls into a good old fashioned circle of your mind, let's make sure that it's strong. So you want to learn something, your body, getting out there and meeting somebody every single day, and your soul, being aware of everything that is around you internally and externally. So it's important to have those three elements in balance with each other. And what I've shared with you, the first three, really helps you to get that balance, which will, I'm not going to say prevent burnout, but it will restrict burnout going into the future. Now, the fourth one that I want to share with you, and this is the hybrid one that can assist you in real estate, in business, and anything else. And really, this boils down to what we refer to as time management and productivity control. So, time managing, making sure that you are got a scheduled plan in front of you that you're in control of. You know when you're doing something. You've got that control into it. And that productivity control means that what you're doing, you are in control and you chose it. Not somebody else told you what to do. So, what exactly am I talking about? Well, it comes down to your actual diary. For many of my clients that I've been speaking to, if they have this habit of just arriving at their job and just starting without any vision or focus of what they need to accomplish in the day, they get to the end of the day and they feel like, well, that was actually a tiring day. I didn't do anything. They start feeling frustrated. And ultimately, that frustration level starts to build, and then it starts getting to the point where the motivation starts to drop. Now, if you remember number one, mental health, awareness, motivation dropping. So, having a calendar or a diary that you are in control of will help you to actually reduce future burnouts. Now, having that diary, what are you going to do? So you need to make sure that in the days of the week and the times of the day, you actually set a time to do a certain task every single day or at a specific time in a certain day. Having that particular calendar in front of you so that you know what to do, you're in control, you chose it. The productivity side of it is it's got to be an activity that gets you closer to a goal outcome. So, being in real estate, what would your goal outcome be for a Monday morning? Maybe it's just to speak to past clients. That's your goal. Now, we need to put a metric behind it. It might be, well, to speak to 10 or 12 past clients. So, when you wake up in the morning, you'll know that you'll have in your calendar a specific time, maybe from 10 until 12. I want to make contact with all of my past clients. And there's 12 of them. That is my goal. Once you've done that, you will feel a sense of accomplishment. Now, one of the biggest questions that comes on the back of that when I'm sitting with clients, especially in real estate, is Stuart, that's great. So now I've got a diary, I'm putting things together, I've got control of what I'm going to do. But wait a minute, what should I be doing? And this is really where I want to give you a plan that I worked with when I was in real estate. I've shared this many, many times in past sessions, but I want to share this with you because it was this particular plan that assisted me to maintain not getting the burnouts, not working 14, 16 hours a day because I was really confused of what to do. I had this control where I could operate between 3 to 5 hours every single day, highly productive, and get the results that I wanted. So, if you've got a pen and paper, you can write this down. It's very straightforward and it works for a real estate. So, it starts like this. on a Monday, and each one of these sessions generally started at about 8 o'clock in the morning. So it must be your first activity when you've got that energy, and let it run for about 2 hours. So from 8 until 10. Make that every single day, Monday to Friday, 8 till 10. You do these particular activities that I'm going to share with you. You will find that you've got an idea on what to do in the day so that you've got a bit of control. So, on a Monday, Monday in real estate, it's actually probably the best day. Reason, you've just had a weekend where you've met with buyers and sellers. So, on a Monday, have it where you phone every single buyer and seller that you met over the weekend. So you've got a database that everyone that you've met, buyers and sellers on a Saturday and Sunday, on a Monday, you give them a call. What are you phoning them about? Straightforward and simple. Buyers, hey, we went through this particular property. I just wanted to get your feelings. What are your thoughts on that particular property so that you can get that feedback after they've had the time to mull over, hey, was that the property that we really liked? So first, phone the buyers, get their thoughts on the property. Second, phone the sellers and thank them for allowing you to bring buyers through the property. Oh, and by the way, here's some feedback because you just spoken to all of the buyers. So on a Monday, set a time to speak to all your buyers and sellers that you've met over Saturday and Sunday. And if you want, you can even extend it for the past week as well. On a Tuesday, Tuesday is a day where you want to grow your business. You want to basically be able to add new people into your database. So on a Tuesday would typically be a canvassing day for new clients. Now, this is where you would actually have that certain script to actually, whether you're phoning people, whether you're door knocking, whether you're meeting people at a networking event, whatever the case may be, but you're actually setting yourself up to make contact with new people. So Tuesday is a canvas day for new clients. On a Wednesday, Wednesday is a day, especially in real estate, is the day that I always used to refer to it as the weekend. Why? Because Saturdays and Sundays were so busy, it felt like a full day, which it is. So Wednesday became my weekend day. And what I used to do is I used to do it as a walkabout. And every single Wednesday, take some time, if the weather's good, go and walk the actual neighborhood. Get familiar with the properties, get to see what is on the market, get to see what has sold, get to actually know that neighborhood. And at the same time, you could even door knock, you could drop off some flyers and have that every single Wednesday. It gets you out, gets that exercise. Your mind is going to be a lot fresher because you're getting that energy and exercise in the walk. So that's on a Wednesday. I used to call it Walkabout Wednesday. Then on a Thursday, and a Thursday is actually quite a nice day. Why? Because the week has really started to stretch itself. So on a Thursday, it's all about updating of my listings. So I would make sure that I would be updating all of my property descriptions and images, shuffling them around, changing pictures around. I would then make sure that I'm taking those properties and I would be resharing them onto social media. So even if I shared it last week, I'm going to share it again. Why? Well, we all know that when you post something on social media, by the time you've seen it, it's gone and you don't see it again. So every Thursday, it was taking my listings, refreshing my listings, and actually sharing those listings onto all the social media platforms so that I got that exposure all the time, every single week. Getting that out there really helped to build onto what I was going to do on Friday. So, Friday is really, and just to backtrack on Thursday, Thursday was really what I refer to as a marketing day. We all love marketing days because they're distractions, but it's a day where we just do all the marketing elements. On a Friday, which is probably the most important day of the actual week, is a feedback day. And the feedback day is really the one where you're going to start building all of the communications and rapport with both buyers and sellers. So, feedback. Buyers, we start with buyers all the time. Feedback to the buyers. Hey, by the way, I've just listed a new property. We've just had a price reduction on a new property. I've got a show house running this weekend. Whatever the case may be, all the buyers that you've got, You give them a call and you give them some feedback on properties, new properties, reduced properties, on-show properties, and you start having those communications with those particular buyers. Then we come to the absolute most important, the feedback for the sellers. Now, feedback for the sellers, when we've had lots of inquiries and lots of movement on their property, it's actually quite easy to give the seller some type of feedback. Hey, Mr. Seller, you know what? This week we had X amount of inquiries on the property. We had 3 that were pre-qualified. We did bring 2 through the property. 1 is actually very interested. We're going to be setting up another viewing this weekend. So that type of feedback for the seller is always positive and great news. And that becomes an easy conversation to have with your sellers. But what if that particular seller's property had 0 inquiries and 0 views of that property, which we all have? We as the agents become too afraid. Now, this is where your levels of burnout can really start to come in. When you've got properties that doesn't get any inquiries on it, and you don't do communications through to your seller, and your seller sending you those messages, hey, what's going on? I haven't heard from you. It creates that stress and anxiety. You don't have the answers. So what happens? Motivation level starts to go down. You start feeling tired and you start getting to that burnout stage because this is what we fear. So the simple solution to it is, hey, Mr. Seller, guess what? This week we haven't had any inquiries on the property. You can do it in quite a cheerful voice. They might not sound too impressed about that, but just bearing in mind, this particular week, now, guess what you did on a Thursday? You updated his listing. You shared it out on social media. So we've done a full refresh of your listing. In fact, we've reposted on all the social media platforms. We've even shared it with all our buyers. Friday morning, you phoned all the buyers to tell them about properties, as well as, Mr. Seller, I've actually spoken to a number of buyers. We've done that price reduction, and I've got a bit of interest on the back of that. So you can see that that conversation will give you that energy for you to actually go forward. So that is the rollout from Monday to Friday. Monday, it's following up with all the clients that you met, buyers and sellers on the weekend. Tuesday, canvassing for new clients. Wednesday, walkabout Wednesday, getting to know the neighborhood. Thursday, marketing day, making sure that you're refreshing those listings and sharing it out on all the actual portals. And on Friday, it's giving the feedback to buyers as well as those sellers. And if you do that on a regular basis, ultimately what's going to happen is and now let's go back into those 3 steps, you're going to see, hey, wait a minute. I need to learn something. I need to see how I can improve on my social media capabilities. So there's learning something new every single day. It's also going to set you up for appointments for the weekend, which is going to give you that social interaction on the weekends that also is going to start picking up so that you can start reducing that burnout. And ultimately, you're going to become more aware of what you're doing every single day, and you're going to know, hey, wait a minute, feeling a little bit down. I know I have a method to start picking myself up. So today was all about how to prevent yourself from getting to that burnout stage. Or once you do get to burnout, how do we come out of it? And that's what I wanted to share with you today. I know it's something that is very unique, and it's something that every single one of you is going to experience sometime in your life. So I want to actually open it up to the actual floor and find out from you if anybody got any comments or questions. You can turn on microphones. You can pop into the actual chat box. I do have that open on the actual screen. Any comments or questions on what I've shared with you? Because I don't want any one of you to get to that burnout stage. As a coach, it always becomes a challenge to get my clients out of that particular state. And I'm talking the severe burnouts. Guys, you have a fantastic week ahead. My final thought for today is remember, the future of your real estate starts by becoming aware of burnouts. You guys have a fantastic day further. Thanks all.